What's up, guys? This is Rey-Jay back with another video. And this one I wanted to break down what's happening with SPY, Tesla, and the markets. I'm going to break down why the market is gapping down right now, but why it's not the end of the world and why we could still bounce despite this gap down. Just know that I'm not a financial planner, so take nothing I'm saying as financial advice. And also, if you guys can, please check out my Moomoo link. If you deposit $100, you're guaranteed 5 free stocks. If you deposit $2,000, you're guaranteed 30, and the offer ends at the end of March. So anyways, looking at SPY, we have a very interesting pattern right now. So what happens to SPY is we tend to get these big dumps all the way down to like 572, right? Then we bounce back up to 585. We dip back down to 574, bounce back up to 582. Then we dump again to 573, bounce to 585. Now we're dipping again. So we're just going back and forth between 585 and 572 to 573, which makes me suspect it's possible we dip a little bit more again. However, I don't think it's the end of the world because when you look at the daily chart, I think that this is, SPY is very close to a bottom still. We have our 200 EMA, a very, very strong support at the 569 area. I think that 568 to 572 range is going to be critical support for SPY. And I think that that's where we might be attempting to form a bottom. If we close below 567, I will become a lot more concerned, but I think that's very unlikely because we are due for some kind of bounce move. And you could see that there are buyers who are trying to fight now. So there's a war going on between buyers and sellers. You guys could really see this war here as the market's going back and forth. So what I suspect is going to happen is we're going to continue this pattern for now. We could see another dip close to like 573 or so. Unless we're about to bounce upon open, but then we're gonna form a giant gap. There's gonna be a giant gap to fill up here by tomorrow, if not the day after. There's gonna be another rebound attempt, and we'll see if we could eventually try to break out of this channel to get back to the upwards direction. Right? I still think there's potential in us to get a nice rebound. We're we're just in a rebound phase for now. We're just kind of stuck in this range, so we have to give the market a little bit more time. Now, as far as Donald Trump's tariffs go, I just want to mention that, we had the delay on the auto tariffs that was announced yesterday, and Donald Trump is telling us to bear with him because he's saying that there's going to be a disruption to the U.S. economy. Those were his exact words yesterday about how we're going to see a disruption, but he's saying that it's going to be worth it for the long term. He's saying to just bear with it. It's going to be worth it, and everything's going to be okay. He's arguing that the tariffs will bring in trillions of dollars, and once the money comes in, he believes that he's going to really help the U.S. economy in a lot of different ways. So I'm not here to tell you if he's right or wrong. I'm just telling you what his opinion is, what he has been saying. There are a lot of very smart people that may agree or very much just disagree with him, and it's your choice, right? If you agree or disagree, it is what it is. I'm just here to give you guys updates about what's happening so far. So we're going to be watching to see if we get any more announcements of relief for the tariffs or not. So just keep that in mind. Today is Thursday. We got initial jobless claims at 221,000. Everything else is very close to expectations. And then tomorrow we have the unemployment numbers. So I'll talk more about those later on. For some news, the market made a big recovery move. Now it's dumping again, but now we're going to be watching to see if we bounce again. So it's very wild price action. Like I said before, the White House had announced a 1-month delay on tariffs for automakers that meet a particular criteria. So keep that in mind. There could be more tariffs coming on April 2nd, but for now, that is how we're reacting. And then we also have Costco announcing earnings later on today, so we'll see how that goes. Anyways, so as far as the market's going, we have this range right here. We tend to get rejected near 585, and we tend to get bought back up near the low 570s. So I think that trend is going to continue for now until we eventually, break one of these directions. If we lose 567, it's going to be a bad sign. But if we could break 585, then we're going to return back up. So we're going to be waiting to see how this ends up developing. Is this going to be a triple bottom and a bounce? I'll give this some time. We do have a giant gap forming, so let's see if we get a pivot right over here near 573. We did bounce off that support many times. And then we could even draw a trend line like this just for like a confirmation, just to see if we're about to bounce just like this. That's also another strong possibility to try to fill that gap that is still left during the pre-market. On the QQQ, same setup, we had an inverse head and shoulders. It's still technically valid unless we end up losing the 490. I will become a little bit more concerned. We're watching to see if we could hold this trend line or not. Are we about to hold this and try to rebound? We had a very interesting move where we bounce off 490. We reject off 503. Reject back down to 491. Bounce to 503. And then we're dipping again. So it could be a small dip coming right here. towards this like 490 area. And we'll have to see if we bounce off that to start pushing back up to 497. So watch that very closely. For the Russell 2000, we are range bound right here. We have this support to watch for at 204, not to mention 203. We have this resistance around 209. So we'll have to watch and see if we could form a bottom here before it tries to rebound to this trend line around this 207 area as we're just trading sideways. And if we could break 207, we're looking for an attempt to push for the 210s. So just keep this in mind. This also resembles a nice accumulation, so we'll give this a little bit more time to develop. So could we dip a bit more? We could, but like I said before, we're going to be looking for a bottom to form soon on the Russell 2000, just like SPY and the QQQ. ES could dip to about 57.50, excuse me. We could dip a little bit more, but we're watching to see, are we about to form a triple bottom here? It's still very possible for that to pan out. Notice we're still very close to this trend line, and this trend line is actually very important. This yellow trend line you're seeing, this is acting as our support right here, right? This was support, becoming resistance. Now it's our support. We're still trying to hold this. So we need to see if we get a bounce, if we can hold it or not. It is possible we dip a little bit more to retest these lows at 57.50, but if we need to hold this trend line today, if we hold this, then there's still going to be hope for us to kind of get back to this imbalance and try to make a full recovery. So watch 57.50 to be tested. We'll see if we bounce off this. As long as NQ does not lose 20,000, we could attempt another rebound. For now, look for a dip. We'll see if we get some kind of dip move first before we get a bounce. As long as 20,000 does not fail us, we could attempt that imbalance fill over here. So keep that in mind. Bitcoin is going to be retesting 88,000, maybe go a little bit lower to 87,000. And we'll see if we bounce. Nvidia is dipping a little bit. We were not able to actually hold above our key support. So I'm going to be watching to see if we get some kind of rejection move and how this is going to react. Like right over here, it's like the 110 area. And we'll see if some buyers defend us to get us back above like 115. I could see us dip to like 110. We'll see what the reaction happens to be. For Tesla, Tesla's also kind of rejecting. We got some bad news about another price cut from Goldman Sachs. But we're watching this 267 to 262 area. As long as we hold 262, we could attempt some kind of rebound because that's where our big yellow trend line happens to be. That's our support. So watch 262 to 267, that range. Watch 267 first, and we'll see if we get a bounce off that or not. So I'll be very, very patient nonetheless. But there might be a small dip coming. Apple could also dip towards 232, and we'll see if we bounce. We're on a bit of a downtrend right here. So I do think this could dip to 230, but we're watching where this wick is. Can we hold support? That's going to be very key for us. For coin, we're watching to see if we could form a double bottom and a bounce. If we could get back above 225, if that's the case, we could be breaking out to above 236. For Amazon, we could attempt another reaccumulation. If this is a higher low, we like to bounce near 202. So I do think we could dip to test that. But if we could hold 202, there's going to be a nice attempt to rebound to 207. For Meta, we have a nice inverse end shoulder, so we'll see if we can break past 657. We're watching these wicks here, so if we do get a small dip here towards where this imbalance is around 642, we'll see if we get some kind of rebound move. For Microsoft, we're looking for a dip here. We're going to be looking to see if we could hold this imbalance at 392, and we'll see if we get a bounce as well, so watch that very, very closely. This imbalance around 392 is going to be a very, very key level for us, so we could dip here before we try to bounce. So far, we're holding up nicely, and I did mention yesterday we were expecting, a small dip from this 400 area before we try to bounce. And then for Google, we're consolidating as well. As long as we don't end up losing support around 170, we could continue to bounce, so we're doing just fine. Also, the VIX now has this big gap down here. So are we going to push and then reject and come back down as the market bounces? In my video yesterday, I did mention that I was anticipating some consolidation. I thought SPY could retest like 578 and we'd probably see a bounce. Instead, we actually are going a little bit lower than that, which is completely fine. This is not that abnormal. And then as long as we don't lose support, we should be looking for a nice bounce very soon. So watch that support zone near that 572 to 573 area. If not, all the way down to 568 if that fails us, which is a little bit less likely. We are still bouncing off this blue trend line. So for now, the market's fine, right? I'm not really concerned yet. I still think we're forming a bottom soon, and there's going to be a rebound move. So give the market the time it needs. It's very volatile, and then we'll see how things end up going. I thank you for listening. Have a good one, and peace out.